Hey everyone, welcome back to another live stream. We're doing a Thursday live stream today, y'all. We're calling an audible. Instead of the live stream tomorrow, I had an opportunity. I'm super excited to do a very unique interview today. But if you're new to the channel, on Creator Wizard, we talk all about the business of being a creator. And so today we have a special treat. I'm going to be chatting with Zawwar Khan, who is the founder of Rel Brands. And Zawwar is leveraging his experience launching products at Doritos, Cheetos, and Olay to help creators build brands that can transcend their audience. So welcome, Zawwar.
Hi, Justin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't we kick it off? Give us some background on yourself and how that led to the creation of Rel Brands.
Of course. So I've had a little bit of a career in kind of consumer packaged goods. CPG might be an acronym that I use often here. And when I say CPG, really just think about everything that's available at the grocery store. Foods, snacks, personal care items, everything in your bathroom. At companies like Procter & Gamble and PepsiCo. And over the last few years, I've been working specifically on product development and product innovation on billion-dollar brands like Doritos and Cheetos, part of PepsiCo's Frito-Lay organization. So I've actually gotten a chance to launch some products on the Super Bowl stage. Recently, this year, we had, last year we actually had, Post Malone do a spot for Doritos Flamin' Hot Limon. We had Lil Nas X do Doritos Cooler Ranch, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher for Cheetos Crunch Pop Mix, as well as Matthew McConaughey for bringing back our authentic and original Doritos 3Ds. So some amazing, product development went into each of these products 3 to 5 years ahead of time. And we got to bring these to life for the consumers. And my work on the back end was really a lot of the strategic thinking, the analytics of where is our brand today? Where is our consumer heading over the next 3 to 5 years? And then my role was really to connect all of those pieces to make sure we weren't leaving any white spaces for competitors to jump in and take share from us. And so bringing that strategic background from PepsiCo and Procter & Gamble, as well as my experience as an operator working with suppliers and finance and R&D, I want to bring that skill set to helping creators launch their own consumer products. We've seen a few top tier creators launch their own consumer products, and some of them have been quite successful, some of them maybe not as much. And the services that we want to offer creators is an opportunity to help them ideate on exactly what product is best for them, help them build an amazing brand, and then most importantly, help them launch and operate it, right? Because creators are already juggling 5-6 full-time jobs in a row just doing their content creation. We want to take some of that pressure off of them and help them, monetize all aspects of their audience.
Super interesting. And I want to give a shout out to Ashley tuning in from Michigan, Patrick from Indy. Thanks for tuning in. So Zawwar, talk about how you think product launches with celebrities differ for product launches with creators. Obviously, they both have built-in audiences. I think the way I've always thought about it is that I think the intimacy level with a creator is a lot more present than a celebrity, but it's still been proven to show that using celebrities to launch products and things like that still works, right? So I'm kind of curious, why hone in on this particular creator space and kind of how do you think about the difference here versus a traditional celebrity?
Traditional entertainment is changing right now. It's kind of a changing of the guard situation, right? We're going from the A-list to creators. So that worked from some of the amazing celebrities that we know today. I mean, think about Rihanna, who just amazingly hit her $1 billion status in a Forbes announcement earlier this week, or George Clooney with his Casamigos brand. They've been provided with a lot of teams, time, and resources on the back end to help them achieve these amazing feats. And creators, digital creators, on the other hand, I think, although some might say are disadvantaged, I actually think are advantage to some of these creators because they're developing a much more personal relationship, like you mentioned. And personal relationships lead to amazing opportunities to sell great products because personal relationships lead to audiences telling creators what they want. telling creators where the tensions may lie and where there's problems made to be solved. And creators are primed to go solve these solutions for them. And that personal relationship, I think, also just leads to amazing opportunities to create more authentic brands that resonate with audiences.
Mm-hmm. So what is it about? Well, first of all, let's talk about like how big do you think a creator needs to be to launch a transformational brand? I mean, what do you know, as you're kind of starting on this journey, like what metrics are you looking for? Is it like
Yeah.
a big following? Is it a lot of engagement? Is it like, does it have to be a product line that's already directly relevant to something that they're talking about in their content a lot? Or how do you think about that?
So I think I align with your thesis here as well, in that the size of the creator is far from everything. It is not the most important point. I mean, if I take a step back from my industry perspective of what makes a great transformational brands are made every year by folks who are not creators. Think about brands like RX Bars, Oatly, Native Deodorant. These are amazing products that shook up their categories, and these founders would have loved to have even a platform of 1,000 loyal viewers, right? These founders instead have to pay big bucks to acquire attention, to get brand awareness through Facebook ads, Google ads, and etc. So I think just the fact that if you are a creator, you have a huge advantage versus non-creator founders when it comes to getting initial distribution. I think answering your second question around metrics, obviously engagement is really important, but I think I lean more towards the qualitative metrics, which are, is this creator a great storyteller, right? Do I see that come to life in their thumbnails, in their titles? Are they expressing a personality, right? I was actually, I think, Justin, you've been doing a great job at this, or especially over the last year that I've been following you, is that I'm seeing your personality come to life. A creator wizard could for sure be something that is very transactional, but I'm following along for you, right? And I love that. And although like we haven't chatted in a couple of months, I know everything that's happening in your life because I'm seeing your personality come through, which I've absolutely loved. And I think that's important for a creator that truly wants to sell. I think a few other just kind of quick points is, would love to see a creator focusing on long form content. I think it's great to be on platforms like TikTok, like Instagram, but if you can start to convert those audiences and diversify the platforms you're on, that's always a really great sign. And lastly, most importantly, like I said, it's a lot of qualitative metrics, is I think I'm looking for a creator who's just a great human and a great entrepreneur, right? Going into business is not easy, and requires, a lot of honesty, fairness, openness, not too much of an ego, also not too little of an ego, because we're going into this together. And I think that just having a great person with you is just so important.
Yeah, that's true. It's like a marriage. Entering into any business partnership, it's like you got to have good communication, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be able to have a long-term vision, but where you're both headed at the same time. Yeah. So I have a good question from Patrick here that I want to get to shortly. But before that, I want you to kind of walk us through the process of creating a product line for those who aren't familiar with it, because I think most creators think that like, oh, I'm going to make merch. I'm just going to like put my
Yeah.
logo on merch and I'm going to use Teespring or Spring now, or I'm going to use
Yeah.
some other, Cafe Press, or is Cafe Press
Yeah.
still a thing? I don't know. But I think that's what most creators think of when it comes to things. But when it comes to transformational product lines for creators, where there is, this is like formulating your own, beauty products or your own makeup line or
Yeah.
your own, whatever food, whatever it is. That's quite a bit different. And so walk us through like
Sure.
those 3 different steps that you said, the ideation and the market research and the logistics, the supply chain, marketing, all that stuff. So like,
Yeah.
how do you think through this kind of like nuts to bolts process?
So Justin, I'm going to give you and your audience a little bit of a glimpse behind the curtain. So just maybe keep this between us. We have a 3-step process: ideation, build, and operate is at least kind of the template that I've learned in more of the corporate industry. I think the first step here is ideation. Actually, before that, Rel brands on consumer products, not necessarily just merch. So we're kind of thinking about what the next frontier of sales looks like. So we started off with is an ideation. And ideation means that Rel Brands kind of opens the covers behind your social media, right? We're thinking about who your audience is, what communities have you built on the back end, where are their tension points, where are consumers or your audience telling you where there might be some opportunities to solve some problems for your audience. We are understanding kind of who you are. You are probably sitting on a lot of ideas, right? Creators are honestly consumer insights generators, and we want to slowly tease that out of you because you might be sitting on those ideas consciously or even subconsciously. So once we start to do some of these ideation sessions, doing some kind of brainstormings, bringing in some samples, and we start to align on a great tension point. I think a great product is a product that truly solves a value and a tension, rather than, I mean, I think white label products are great, but sometimes a white label product, so for example, I have a candle and I'm going to slap my name on it, is not strong enough of a proposition for a consumer to say, why should I buy your candle over mine? Instead, we want to dive deeper into what are the tensions that people are having with their candles? Are their candles not being lasting long enough? Are the scents not strong enough? Do they want them to be made out of more natural materials? Through this ideation process, we land on what's on an idea that is relevant. Rel brands is short for relevant. That is relevant for your audience, and is also solving a key tension point. Once we've landed there, we jump into stage 2, which is the build process.
Quick question. This is where, quick question before we move on. Sorry to interrupt, but this is a really important point. I think that we need to. I want your thoughts on, which is that a lot of creators, I think, who try to launch brands at this point, they breeze over this phase very quickly.
Yeah.
They don't do any market research. They assume, what I've found is that people assume that number of followers equals customers. Right. And when they launch the brand or they launch the product or whatever, and they're like sorely mistaken because, wow, all these people who I have, 50,000 people following me or whatever, and like no one bought basically. And so it's like, how as a creator do you start to think about the fact of like, okay, how can I turn these people who have said that they like following my content into, prospective customers down the line? Because I think that that's like a major hang up for a lot of creators, is just being concerned that it's not actually going to sell.
Lee Jin coined this term of true fans, in that you only need a small number, 100 to 1,000 true fans, to build an entire business as a creator. And I think if creators can truly identify and lean into their true fans here in this market research process, that'll benefit them greatly. A lot of creators are doing this by creating their own Discord channels, by leveraging their close friends story on Instagram, private stories on Snapchat, to create a two-way dialogue between them and a core subset of their audience. There you can start to test out various ideas in the ideation process. You can even invite them in to run qualitative and quantitative consumer research. So quantitative consumer research might look like a quick type form or a Google survey that you get quick feedback on, like what ideas are driving the most excitement, or qualitative research, which is, hey, we're whipping up a new formulation for a hair shampoo. Can we mail you some samples to get your ideas on which formulation or which scent you like better? That way you can start to test and validate your idea with the public, but not completely in public, right? With a small subset of your cohort. Secondarily, I think that it's important to also be looking at the broader market, right? Not only focusing on making sure that you're solving a pain point for your audience, but also you want to make sure that your brand can transcend your audience. So there's some great market research, reports that are available online. I think Mintel is a great one where you can start to get some more trend reports on what's happening in an entire category. So I'll continue with my shampoo example. Maybe shampoo bottles are trending more towards recyclable or made of recycled materials or free of parabens and sulfates. That way you can start to kind of start to tie into higher level marketplace trends along with the trends that are existing within your immediate audience.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So move on. Step. So after ideation, after all that, and you feel like you have a pretty solid idea, step 2.
Then comes the build process. And like we said, most creators skip the ideation. So they get to build, and that's, I think, where they get hit with some hurdles. And I think that's where Rel Brands can step in with our existing network of amazing suppliers in the industry. In the build process, I like to say it as we can draw a curtain and hide the creator from all of the pain points of building a brand, doing all of the supplier relation calls, figuring out minimum order quantities, figuring out pricing, handling all of the samples, and instead allowing the creator to focus on what's most important, which is them creating the content. So we can do weekly check-ins to say, hey, here's samples of our shampoos. Here are 3 different scents. Here's 3 different formulations, to make sure that the creator's vision and strategy is truly coming to life, but they don't have to worry about the nitty-gritty of going back and forth with the manufacturer and losing time focus that could be focused on their content creation. We're also then, once we figured out the formulation and the right supplier, we're then leaning into packaging. We're figuring out order fulfillment. We're figuring out how we're going to handle customer service, setting up e-commerce pages, Shopify, integration into Instagram, all of those little nitty-gritties, which, like I said, are easy to outsource to a team like ours, because the creator's attention needs to be focused on content. Lastly, once we've figured all of that out, we've got our branding, we've got our designs, we've got our website all ready to go, comes the super fun part where the creator gets to announce to their audiences that, hey, for the last 6 months, I've been working with my team to create a very special product just for you guys based on what I've seen in my category of shampoo, and it's here just for you. And that's when we start the operations process. This is, I think, also a step that oftentimes creators miss out on, is if they get through the build and they've launched a brand, sometimes it feels like a spark in the pan, right? Where you see a great, exciting launch and then it sizzles out. Because once again, the creator has to go back to the content creation. So Rel can jump in and start handling all of the order fulfillment, the returns. What is the 3-year growth strategy? How are we going to expand in new categories? If we're doing shampoos this year, how are we expanding into conditioners and leave-in conditioners and hair styling products and maybe even skincare next year? And I think truly where the value of Rel Brands comes in here is where we start then talking about over the next 3 years, how do we transcend your audience? Once we're operating the brand, let's make sure we find product market fit with your immediate audience. And then comes the phase 2 of operations, which is now how do we start acquiring a new audience? Someone who doesn't even know who this creator is or doesn't even know that this creator is behind this brand, but is looking for a great new shampoo. And then we start having great conversations with retailers, right? Like Walmarts and Targets and Whole Foods. And now all of a sudden, that's how a $1 million to $2 million direct-to-consumer creator brand can expand into $10-20 million, because now there's families, American families, that are picking up this product off the shelf every day, every hour, every minute. And that's where scale truly comes from.
Super interesting. And yeah, I mean, we'll talk a little bit later about, kind of your overall diversification, revenue diversification strategy as a creator, because it's absolutely critical. And so creators who are starting to think about product lines and merchandise and things like that. I wanted to just call out Patrick's question. Just wanted to quickly get your thoughts on this around physical versus digital products and whether a digital product brand could be considered transformational in your mind.
100%. I think that Rel Brands' focus is for sure more so in physical, but I think there's some great ideas and examples of where digital products are coming to life, or even the two are being married together. I look at a Mr. Beast burger, right, which comes to life in an app and on Uber Eats, but is also combined with a back-end physical infrastructure of a restaurant network. Or I see some amazing creator courses that are creating waves in education and make me consider what is education going to look like 5-10 years from now, when I can find so much value in creators' education courses. I think there's a lot more potential.
Oh yeah, go on.
I think you might want to check out Justin's courses as well. But there's some amazing opportunities here, even with apps. I mean, I think about, here's just a free idea for everyone. If you're a fitness creator, can't you be creating some amazing fitness-based apps to keep your audience motivated and engaged and drive value to them and create a smaller community? There's an amazing opportunity with digital products as well. I think just as an entrepreneur myself, it's important to stay focused. So I'm going to stay in my lane of digital products and comment on that. But Patrick, I 100% agree that there is amazing opportunities with digital as well.
Very cool. Very cool. And I want to take this moment, we're talking about revenue strategy, content strategies, and I wanted to thank our today's sponsor of the live stream, Restream. Thank you so much. We are using Restream right now to do this live interview, and I wanted to share, we have a cool, exciting new promo today if you want to check out Restream. So I'm going to share a little bit more info, and then we'll talk right after. Stream Studio is a web-based live broadcasting solution that allows you to create professional live streams and send them to multiple social channels at the same time. So I do a ton of live interviews and I use Restream to do it, and there's tons of different video layouts, which is awesome. There's tons of different caption themes, so you can select the shape and the size and the color and just customize it to your brand identity. It also has live chat overlay, so as people type in their comments, you can actually have it appear automatically on the screen. It just skyrockets engagement. But probably the most important feature to me is how you can schedule events. So I schedule a lot of my live events, but you can also schedule pre-recorded videos, right? So it's truly amazing and saves so much time. And don't forget, Restream allows you to use any RTMP source. So I actually use this to go live on Instagram using my DSLR camera and my professional microphone. So it just looks and sounds so much better. So I'm super excited because Restream has a promo today that you can sign up for a free trial, and someone who signs up on this live stream is going to get upgraded to a pro account today. So make sure to check out the link in the description box. Check out Restream. Again, if you, I'm going live to my YouTube channel right now, my private Facebook group, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, Twitch. So it's just like a countless amount of places that you can go live to at once. I've found immense value from it. It's super easy. And so if you want to check out Restream, please do it. Let them know I sent you. And again, thanks to Restream for sponsoring today's stream. So make sure to go check it out. So let's bring you back in here, Zawwar. And on that note, you were talking earlier about, how, creator launch brands can flame out, right? Especially if the creators not actively promoting them or things like that. I think there have been a lot of creators who have tried to do this, tried to launch brands, and then it, like you said, had this flashy launch, and then it kind of sizzled out. And so what is the secret or the formula to make something actually stand on its own, right? Because without you needing to continue to promote it, how do you jump the what's the saying? Jump the shark, or how do you actually bridge that gap, bridge the chasm? I don't know what the saying is. You probably know what I'm talking about, but it's like, how do you make that jump?
So we look at there's 4 metrics that at least Rel Brands looks for. I'm not sure this is the right metrics for everyone, but when we're building a venture, we want to make sure that our venture hits 4 key points, because that allows it to truly transcend their audiences. Number 1 is that the brand has to be relevant to the creator. Starting just kind of from square one, it has to be relevant to the creator's content, and their audience. And that's why we call ourselves Rel Brands, because we're building things that are relevant for creators. Number 2 is the brand has to have a unique brand story, right? The brand has to be able to live on its own 2 feet without just your face and your name. And so that's where you need to be putting that extra thought on the upfront of, how does this brand live without me as the talking head of the brand. Next, probably most importantly, is that it has to be driving an actual value or solving a tension in a category. And I'll try to explain this in greater detail. Maybe, for example, I'm a female athlete, right? I run every day, and I can't find a deodorant or an antiperspirant that can handle kind of the workload that I'm putting in through. I don't like the scents. I don't like the strength. That's a tension there, where there's probably even more female athletes out there that feel a tension with their deodorant, and they're eager to make a switch. If there isn't actually a tension that you're solving for, sometimes it becomes a lot harder to get someone to make the switch. I'm going to leave my old deodorant behind, and I'm going to buy a new one. So that's something that I think creators should be thinking hard about on day one, to make sure they're solving an actual tension in the category. And I think that's how you start to get a brand, build a foundation for a brand that can transcend their audiences. I think second is building a team, finding an operator partner, maybe even finding Rel Brands, to find someone that you can start to outsource some of this work into, right? It's once you start to grow with your immediate audience, and you kind of have figured out that product market fit, then comes entirely new growth strategies for you to transcend your audiences. Now, rather than talking directly to your audience, you're running paid ads, you're running your own organic social page for the brand, you are doing your own promotion strategies, you're doing holiday activations. That's a lot of work. That's an entire startup. And so I highly recommend to creators to start to build a team around this, because I think building brands is something that can be easily, a lot of the work can be easily outsourced, a lot of the operations at least. And then lastly, this is probably the hardest one, and it's probably the last step of the phase, is to keep a brand going, especially for a lot of these larger brands. A big part of it is the physical distribution that's unlocked. We talked a lot about the Super Bowl ads, the $5-10 million that we put into those Super Bowl ads for these product launches. The kind of a secret behind the curtains is it wasn't those Super Bowl ads that got the products to sell. It was actually the physical distribution. When those product ads were running, we already had those products physically available on shelf in 85% of grocery stores across the country. So now when people are running over to the grocery store and thinking about what chips they're going to buy for their Super Bowl party, we're part of their consideration set. And now this brand starts to just run automatically, because the consumers are coming to us, right? All of the people who don't even know that this creator exists are coming to the shelf, are looking to buy deodorants, are looking to buy chips. And now they're saying, wow, this looks kind of cool. This is solving a new tension that I actually had. And that's what starts to create this kind of natural fuel for these brands to keep going and keep running. So just high level recap, I would say it's to make sure you're building a strong foundation on the upfront for a brand that can transcend your audience. Once you validate it with your immediate kind of creator audience, it's then to build an operational team that can help support into growth strategies that can keep the brand running by itself.
Interesting. Do you think that creators on different social platforms have a fundamentally different relationship with their followers than others? So, like, for example, you can fight me on this if you want, but like, I argue that creators on TikTok don't have as intimate of a relationship with creators as they do on a platform like YouTube. I just think it's a fundamentally different experience to watch a 10-minute YouTube video versus a 30-second TikTok or something. Lots of people can disagree with me on that, but like, that's why I do think it's very critical to have a multi-platform strategy as a creator, because you can start, and ideally an email list, because that's the best way you can actually reach them. So it's like, do you think about that in your vetting strategy when you're going to be working with creators? Like, do you think like someone with 1 million YouTube subscribers is more valuable than someone with 1 million TikTok followers?
Yeah, for sure. And well, I'll preface it by this: Justin, you're the creator expert. I'm not. I consider myself more so the product expert. But from what I've been able to gather so far by doing a lot of user research with creators over the last 6 months, is that the value of long form platforms, it goes a lot further when it comes to selling products versus short form platforms. So there's no problem at all with having a huge following on short form content, such as TikTok. But I would encourage those creators to think about what the strategy is to bring those folks over to new platforms. Make them be so engaged with your personality. They want to sit through a 10-minute YouTube video. They want to sit through a live content. They want to sit through Instagram photos and Instagram stories. So that's maybe the challenge that I bring to folks is TikTok is a great way to start getting some eyeballs, but may not be the best platform for building relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think what you need before you launch a product is to make sure you have a relationship with your audience.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. And Patrick makes an interesting note here, which is that tons of creators don't understand the opportunity costs of different platforms. Subbing on YouTube is already a surprisingly low bar. That's true. TikTok, much less so. Yeah, it's a great point, Patrick. And like we were talking about earlier, I think a lot of creators don't give too much thought to like, is even candidly, like something that I discovered when I launched my course, which is that, I had however many YouTube subscribers and people on my email list. And I, was assuming that. So here's one big discovery as we're talking about ideation. I think it's interesting to talk about this, which is that when I launched my course, Brand Deal Wizard, the material is geared towards more of an intermediate to kind of established level creator, someone who has experience launching brand partnerships and things like that, because the level of information and the things that I teach is a little bit more advanced, and it just would be too much of a fire hose for someone who has never done a brand deal before, right? And so that was one requirement that I established, to be able to get admission to the course, is that you have had some experience, right? And one thing I discovered when I launched the course was that I have a much larger subset of my audience who is aspiring creators, up and coming creators who have never done brand partnerships. So there was a whole segment of and so I'm working on a course to help those creators out, because it's just a different level of information. It's different things that I would be teaching. And so it's like, I learned that the hard way, and at the same time too, like I definitely, sometimes it is hard, I think, as a creator to like remember what it was like when you were 10 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, when you were like kind of coming up, if you're trying to help teach other creators. And I think the same, that analogy could be still true here, which is that ensuring that you're designing a product, especially if it's a consumer product, that is solving a need of the majority of your audience, not just you. Because you, I'm assuming you're probably going to be working with creators who are relatively larger. And so that's a different set of like life problems, I think, that creators like that have than the everyday follower or the everyday person sometimes too. So I don't know. I think sometimes that type of thing is important to consider too,
I mean, my marketing career started at Olay, which is a skincare brand that's targeted mostly at middle-aged to older women. And so that doesn't mean that a creator can't do it, even if their audience's tensions are different from theirs.
You had you had really long hair. Where did I said, is that why you had the long hair, so you could test the Olay products on yourself?
I did. I had long hair. I was everything. I was everything in that
I wish
situation.
I could pull up that picture.
But
It was like your profile picture for the longest time. I wish I could pull it up.
it
Yeah, I
was.
miss
I was. Imagine just much
man.
more California surfer style look. But now it's
Yeah.
clean cut. It's entrepreneur. It's business minded. Um,
Yes,
but
exactly.
I would say, just adding on to that point is, once again, not a creator expert here, but just from what I've been able to do so far, is a creator audience relationship is a two-way street. You always want it to be a two-way street. And I like to think about it in regards to the size of the lanes of that street. For some creators, they have a 5-lane road of content going out to the audience and only a 1-lane road coming back. And you can start to make that the content coming back to you, your audience engagement with you, more valuable by replying to comments, engaging with your audiences. You can also start to create email newsletters. I also think there's more like low hanging fruit, like creating close friend stories and making your own like Discord or Slack community. It's through those sorts of relationships. It's important for just as the creators or the audience leans into the creators, it's important for the creators to lean back in with the audiences. And it is through those true fans, those loyal fans, that you can start to identify where there's some really great opportunities. Just the same way that I used to do market research with Gen Z chip eaters when I was at Doritos and Cheetos. It's important for creators to be thinking about their audiences as a business and make sure they're always lockstep in with what their audience cares about and where their audience is having problems so that they can help solve them.
Interesting. So, I mean, how do you think a consumer product can benefit a creator's overall revenue diversification strategy? Because I mean that, like, I think that is, you hit the nail on the head, which is that just the content hamster wheel is so exhausting, I think, for so many creators. And I feel like if they feel like if they take their eye off that, which is like everything flows from that, basically, if they
Yeah.
take their eye off that, they're very concerned about the long term, the longevity of their business. And so, like, how do you obviously it seems like that's what Rel Brands is trying to like help solve, but like what are your thoughts on like where a consumer product should fit into a creator? Like, do they need to, when you work with them, are you gonna be like, okay, you need to devote 25% of your time on a weekly
Yeah.
1 hour call a week, or like what level of expectation are you assuming for your
Yeah.
creator partners?
It's not a case by case basis, but if we think about building a brand, like building a business, like building a house, the content creation truly is the foundation. And if we lose that, everything else is just a house of cards. The newsletter is a house of cards. The consumer product brand is a house of cards, and it all falls apart. So, and the only person that can do that content creation and focus on that strategy is one person, and that's you, the creator. And so it's also important for us as being a good partner to you to make sure that we can keep most of your time focused on the content creation. We work pretty involved with our creators on the upfront and the ideation process because we need to tease out a lot of those insights from the creator and make sure that the strategic and creative direction of the brand is coming from them. Where Rel comes into play is all of that work that can be outsourced, finding the suppliers, setting up the website, figuring out all of the logistics of managing the cross functionals, we can handle so that you can keep your content empire moving and growing. But on the back end, we can help you create a business model that is more so focused on equity and ownership. Rather than you having to run on this, obviously, the content is going to be a hamster wheel, but there's also another hamster wheel of brand deals. Ideally, we can help to build a brand for yourself in which you're starting to develop some self-sufficiency, some equity, some ownership, and you can start to kind of sit back and not have to worry about next week's brand deal as much so because you've laid a foundation of a brand that can help keep you paid. When it comes to more of the details around what the average involvement of a creator needs to be, like I said, I think it needs to be on a case by case basis. We'd love to have the creator along more so than not because we want this to be their particular brand. But there's for sure going to be phases throughout the project cycle where it's not going to be as much focused on strategic and creative, and it's going to be more so executional. So Rel will just put their heads down and work, providing the creator with some updates along the way. There's also going to be times for the creator where creator burnout is very real. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but creator burnout is very real. There's also going to be times where the creator needs a little bit of a break. And I think just being a creator-focused operator, we understand that. And I think there's always going to be opportunities for us to flex the schedule as needed.
Interesting. So, I feel like, So obviously you're going to, I'm assuming you're going to want to work with some more established, larger creators to ensure, the likelihood of a successful launch. But we have a lot of aspiring creators who watch the show. And so if you were in their shoes, like what is okay, let's say that they're not working with real brands. Let's say that, hey, I just want to like diversify my revenue strategy. Like, what is the path of least resistance when it comes to actually creating something that has legs? Like what would you say you would advise them to do? Would be poll your audience, like to ask
Yeah.
them what type of products they want, like look at what content performs the best on your channels, like how would you, what would be your advice to like someone who's maybe not large enough to work with you yet, but they do want to like look into, having a product of their own?
For sure. I love giving this sort of advice. I think it leans back to Rel Brands' core framework of the 3 steps. And this is what I tell all creators to maybe write down is it's ideation, it's build, and operate. And what most people is they forget the ideation and they forget to operate. So start off now doing.
Oops, looked like we lost Zawwar there for a second. Let's see if his Wi-Fi comes back in. But I'll take this moment to plug. Remember, Restream has an amazing offer today. Thank you so much again to them for sponsoring the stream. So I'm going to be picking someone who signs up for a free trial using my link in the description box here to be upgraded to a pro plan. So make sure to check it out. Again, it's a free trial, and I've been super happy with it. Zawwar is going to jump back in here. We were playing around with trying to find the best place where he's staying for the best Wi-Fi connection. So this sometimes it's unpredictable. We're calling an audible here. Let me know in the chat how you guys are doing, where you're tuning in from. And Zawwar is tuning back in here too. I'm going to turn him back on when I see his video. The cool thing about Restream is there's like a green room where I can see him right now, and I can see that he has 4 green bars for his Wi-Fi. So I'm going to pull him back up here. This is sweet. There we go. Oh, he left. Here we go. Let's pull him back in. Zawwar, are you there? And Zawwar is not there yet. So I'm going to pull back in here. One of the things that I think is critical to think about when you're launching your own product. By the way, I mentioned that I am looking to drop some merchandise. I am also going to be doing like a monetized product line, t-shirts, hats, things like that, which I'm super excited about. And Zawwar is saying he's back. So let me pull him back in, see if that's working. Zawwar, are you there? Your
I
video
am. Hello. Sorry about that.
That's all good. Your video seems frozen strangely. Let me turn you back on and off. Let's see here. Why don't you, Zawwar, I don't know if you can hear me, but try and refresh one more time. Your video is frozen. Your video is frozen. There's also a private chat See, look at this amazing promo I'm able to do for Restream. There's also a private chat function, so I'm chatting to him privately as we're talking about this. Okay, let's try this one more time. Boom! Are you there? Your video is functional. There we go. We're here. Yes. We can see you. This is live. We're doing it live. So yeah, you were saying about your favorite advice for creators who are kind of at this phase.
Yeah. Start pulling your audience. Start to develop that 2-way relationship. If, for example, if I'm a cooking creator, I want to make sure I'm talking to creators about what it is about my content that stands out to them so much better than other creators. Is it my expertise in certain types of cuisines? Is it the fact that I talk about elementary, cooking culinary equipment? So, they're always asking me for what's the best beginner's chef's knife, right? Then you start to tune in on a little bit of attention in that creators or your audience is looking for the best, highest quality, cheapest equipment that you recommend to them. And once you start to hone in on that, you can start to think to yourself, what are your favorite, beginner chef knives out there? And how could they maybe even be made a little bit better through weight, through price, through material, through handle sizes? And then through that ideation process, you can then start to throw ideas back at your audience and say, hey, would you be interested in maybe, a chef's knife coming from me? So I think that it's the most important advice that I can give to creators right now who are particularly on the early end is start laying down that foundation of that 2-way street with your audience and start getting feedback from them on what are their tensions and start showing ideas to them. Just, half-baked ideas, say, would this be something you're interested in? And as you start to grow, you can start to build out a team that can help you bring that proposition to life.
Yeah, and the thing that you mentioned about kind of pulling back the curtain before you're ready. I think a lot of creators have a tendency to do that, which is that they want to like go back in their like workshop, their private workshop, and like craft this like beautiful creation, and then ha ha la la, they don't say anything about what they're doing, and then they
Mm-mm.
like all of a sudden they launch it, and there's this movement, that called build in public, which a lot of people have been championing on social media and things like that. And I really do think there is something to it, which is just that number one, you can use essentially what build in public is that you take people through your journey. It's like, I think Gary Vee probably popularized this, which is just that your content is the process. It's the behind the scenes. It's not necessarily just the finished result. So the way this translates to creators, whether it's new content that you're creating or a product line or a course or some sort of monetized exclusive content, whatever, you basically get them involved from step one, right? Because what happens then? They become invested. They feel as though the feedback that they're giving, you're integrating it into whatever you're creating. And so when you ultimately do come out with it, they have followed your journey the entire like way. And so they feel as though they have some sort of equity in the
Yeah.
success of, or some sort of, tie to the result of that, or to the success of that product. Right. And so I think that there is a lot to say to that. And I think it's just something that people need to get over, right? Which is just that not everything is going to be perfect, and that's okay. And there's a lot of upside to involving people as early as possible. Right.
There was, I think it was Jeffree Star had done a cosmetics palette and had done just that. He'd actually released a series of stories of how he made his product, and that brought people along and got everyone really excited about the drop. And I think his product sold out even faster than Kylie Jenner's cosmetic kits herself. So there's something really special about building in public. I definitely agree with you there.
The one question I still have is that like it seems like there is you really do have to be at like a very high level, millions of followers, right? To be
Mm.
able to launch a transformational product like this. At least in the examples you give on your website, Honest Company, Fenty, like whatever, right? Yes, of course, they're celebrities. They have huge followings. Like, yes, regardless of what they launched, it's probably something is probably going to be successful. But it's like how achievable is this for a creator with 100,000 followers, right? Maybe they're like super engaged, but
Yeah.
like honestly, be real with me here.
Yeah. No. Okay. So on the website, I call out those facts and I say, if they could do it, why can't a creator? So I think, agree in the opposite philosophy, in that it's becoming more and more accessible to creators. There is a creator, I am forgetting his name, but I encourage the audience to look up this product called Sour Strips. Or no, is it? It is called, yes, Sour Strips. Look up Sour Strips on Google.
Okay,
This is
let's see.
a personal fitness creator. I think his name is Max Chenning, if I'm not mistaken. He has about 300,000 followers on YouTube. He does personal fitness content, and he's made an entire brand around a sour candy that kind of like relates to his extreme and excited entire concept. He just got distribution and targets all across the country. Next time the audience is doing their target run, go into the candy section and you'll see this sitting right next to all of the Sour Patch Kids. That's exciting. And this is a creator who doesn't have that much of or millions of people following him. He hasn't been in Hollywood. So I would actually say this process is definitely possible. And there's people who are kind of on the cutting edge of this process right now. And I'm sure in 2 to 3 years from now, all creators will be talking about building their own consumer products. So my thesis is actually that the only reason that this top tier A-list talent like Jada Pinkett Smith and Jessica Alba and others were able to build these amazing empires was because they built teams around them who could help them do this. It's kind of a collaboration, I would say, between a creator and an operator. And I think it's a yin and yang process where the creator brings amazing consumer insights, amazing ideas, amazing creative and strategic visions, and also an audience. And the operator helps bring that idea to life. And both sides balance each other out. I think where creators are getting kind of stuck is that they need an amazing operator or partner to help them bring this to life. And they don't realize that these big creator or these big, Hollywood brands that are coming to life right now are happening because these Hollywood talents have amazing access to teams and capital. But I think it's time to democratize access to building great brands.
This is a great example. I've just pulled up the announcement video of Max announcing the company. Max only has, or only, but Max has 385,000 subscribers. But you saw the social proof on the screen there right before of all the times he said he wanted to create a sour candy company.
Yeah.
But this is awesome. I mean, this is a great example. So I'm glad you brought this up because this is really cool to see. And the interesting thing when I was looking at the website too, I could not, it didn't say anything about him. Like he
No,
didn't
it didn't.
on the about us page, it didn't say like, oh,
It
created
didn't.
by Max. Like it was completely removed from him. So case in point, I think that this is really interesting.
And that's so important when you're building a brand that you want, that you know the target is to transcend your audience. Is you want to be the face of the brand for your immediate audience. But when you start going kind of into the phase two of growth, like for example, as Max is going into targets, I think it's his name doesn't provide as much value to the average target consumer. Right? Most people don't know who Max is, but they do know that this is an amazing branded candy that gets them excited about kind of an antiquated category, right? Candy hasn't really been as relevant for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. There's no brands that are defining the generation, and he's bringing that excitement back. And the proposition, just so people know, why would Target even say yes to this? Max can show them that for the last year, he's been building out his website. And I don't know, let's just say, for example, he can tell them that 75% of our sales have been within 10 miles of Target stores. So my consumers are ready to step foot and add more, have more, we can add more footsteps walking into Target doors right now with the click of a button. Because now Max is telling his audience, go run to these Target stores, buy my product now. We need to keep growing sour strips. And that's the value that digital creators bring. Digital creators can bring value to get billion-dollar corporations like Target excited and say, we need you. We need you in our stores to help us hit our sales objectives.
Super interesting. Yeah, I think that is a super powerful asset that creators have, which is just to be able to be like, hey guys, we've entered this new really exciting phase of growth for the company. Can you help me support it? Right. So if it's something as simple as like, yeah, going into your nearest like Target or Walmart or whatever. I remember, I can't remember, if you've ever listened to How I Built This, the podcast
Yes.
from NPR. I can't remember what company it was, but they, these stores like Walmart and Target and things like that, they look at week over week sales and foot traffic, like, sales data and stuff. So if you have an audience to be like, hey, everyone, please go buy one, that's going to, potentially increase our chances of continuing to get sold at those stores. That's a major advantage that a creator has over, an up and coming person who has no audience and everything is being, everything's happening through word of mouth. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I think you're right. This is a super interesting new space and kind of getting out in front of this, with the creator economy craze that's going on right now. I think that this is, we're in the, I always like to say, like, we're in the, I think first inning or second inning of the creator economy. And there's so much that's going to be happening over the next, 5 to 10 years in this space. So really interesting, really inspiring what you're working on, Zawwar. So thank you so much for joining us. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit more about, if some people are interested in working with you or how they can find out more information.
Of course, yeah. If you're interested in working with Rel Brands, go check out hellorel.com. You can scroll to the bottom. We've got an amazing contact form there that you can reach out, and one of our team members will reach back out to you. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns or just ideas that you want to run by me, you can also find me on Twitter at ZawwarKhan_. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a tweet. Would love to help you kind of brainstorm where your brand might go or how you can start building an infrastructure for a great brand in the future. Happy to help in any way. The creator economy is growing. Rising tides lift all ships. So happy to help in any way that I can.
Absolutely. Thanks so much again. And thanks to Restream for sponsoring the stream. Again, get your free trial by clicking the link in the description box. And I'm going to be picking someone who signed up to get upgraded to a pro account. So thanks again. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Zawwar.